Hey, Kam Yasharah. This is brother JAHsh, or JAHsh, JAHsh. They call me at work. Yo, check this out, man. I was taking a nap, woke up, and I was watching a video from some brother talking about falsity of Hebrew Israelites versus commit, or something to the effect. And it occurred to me, first of all praises to Yahweh out here on this evening walk. That's right, evening walk. But it occurred to me that for all these people out here trying to disprove the Hebrews existed, which in and of itself is pretty fucked up and not logic, based on the fact that we have living, animated people calling themselves Hebrews. That's like Hebrews saying the Egyptians didn't exist, when it's obvious we got brothers out here thinking that they're Egyptian. Okay, so Hebrews and Egyptians exist and existed. It's just the fact that the so-called Egyptians are those who are claiming to be skeptic or whatnot. There's all kinds of different names for them, but y'all know what I'm talking about. They claim that it's always physical evidence versus non-physical evidence, which, knowing that we're in a state of captivity, that obviously shows the error in that form of thought, right? For one, the society that we're living in is not a pro-Hebrew society. It's not a pro-righteous society. So naturally, if you want to use Egyptian or Cometian terms, naturally, you should see that the society that's built around us and formulated to keep us captive is the society that is being used for captivity. That's high science right there. That's high level of thought that brothers and sisters don't peep. They're too caught up in trying to find the books and trying to find the physical evidence when they themselves are not the physical evidence, which is a damn shame. And that's the reason why everybody's so stuck in this bullshit, right? So stuck in the box, in the physical buildings that are being made to keep you housed there, stuck in these churches, stuck in these ways of thought, right? Because y'all can't understand the truth, man. The truth is you come from nothing. But the fact is, you are not nothing. So naturally, right, you should be able to know that the only way you're going to be connected to the true nothing that you come from is through a spirit, or through the spirit. And we breathe, and that's just a principle of the spirit. But beyond breath, the spirit works also. But that might be getting over some of y'all's heads out there, especially for you newcomers into the Torah, into the teachings. But it's something that you're going to have to end up grasping in order to really truly understand the King, and understanding who the King is, and understanding the governance of Yahweh, right? Because that's what these Cometians don't have access to. They don't have access to the Rawak like we do. They're stuck. All they can do, the only thing they have access to is the senses, the physical, that which is created in their mind, and not that which is given to them of mind, right? And the reason I talk like this is because this crazy language that we speak is also a hindrance when it's used for captivity, right? Hopefully I got enough time. Anyways, So when I woke up from my nap, that's what came to my thought, because beyond the scope of the idiot cannot realize that you can see Hebrew history in this, but the Hebrew history is the history that you're not allowed access to. For instance, the so-called Jewish or Amalek or Esau uses the Hebrew culture in order to keep itself sustained. And they don't even use it in a righteous sense. They use it to keep in just their everyday ritual sense, in the life that they live, the foods that they eat, the so-called holidays that they have, right? So they're not advertising that worldwide. They keep it to themselves. But you notice that you can go anywhere and you can find Egyptian stuff advertised worldwide, right? Because the Egyptian system is not used for righteousness. Because Egyptian thought is basically carnal thought of the senses, of the lower body. You have got to understand that. So the only reason why brothers and sisters would gravitate towards Commission ideology is because that's where their mind and their soul is at, and their heart is at. Because obviously Yahweh will put them there to be examples. They're not going to get the information that we get through the Spirit. They're not going to get our understanding, and they're not going to be able to cross over and be a Hebrew. Because as many of my brothers point out, along these so-called slave ships or whatnot, it wasn't just Hebrews. It was also Africans, so-called Arabs, so-called even Egyptians to a certain extent. That's why in their cellular memory, they gravitate more so towards those teachings. All right? So y'all get that understanding, in that it's all right to want to spread the word and teach, but this ain't missionary work that we're doing. We're waking up our own, and our own understand our voice. And they understand the voice of the King, who is Yahweh alone. You know? So just really understand that. Yeah, to continue where my phone cut off, and see how long I got on this voice recording. So to continue where I'm at, the actual physical things of the Hebrew culture, so to speak, have all been, not all, because they're still discovering things, even to this day, but it has been confiscated and housed in places such as Europe, even in places such as Egypt. You're just not allowed access to that. And why would you? Because the true Hebrew, to have access to his items and to his history in the physical form, will blow the top off this captivity. So we who are of the Spirit of Yahweh, we know that we're going to be limited to what we have physically these days in the form of parchments, books, or whatnot. And the things that we do find, they're going to be filtered, because they're going to be translated and transliterated by those that are doing it, for lack of better terms. So that's something that we need to be mindful of out here. And when dealing with these skeptics, these so-called Commissions, so-called, studiers and scholars and whatever the hell they want to call themselves, right? Whatever kind of fancy name. But people of the Most High, they will never be. That's one thing for sure. So, man, what's up with these dogs this evening, man? These brothers are just out here, brothers and sisters. But No doubt, no doubt. So I wanted to cover that. I woke up from that, like I said, I woke up from that nap, and all praises to Yahweh, was given a word in the form of thought, like usual. And I wanted to edify with the brothers and sisters out there, and not to get discouraged when what you seem to be explaining doesn't appear to be hitting home, or what you are explaining doesn't appear to be ringing true, you know, because you got a lot of brothers that are caught out there in the secular world and using secular devices to try to disprove what you feel inside, right? But we came out of that, right? We came out of that. The only argument they have is they say that our argument is just faith-based. But you have to really peep it whenever they say that. Because if they're saying our argument is only faith-based, so what does that mean that they lack? They lack faith. They lack the understanding of faith. But they want you to believe that faith is belief. They want you to believe, because that's all they have is beliefs, especially these so-called African Americans trying to be like they got the scholarship, right? Whenever they themselves don't even have the things that are being contained, such as in Europe, in places in Europe, places around the globe, in the hidden recesses of these museums, and in places, you know what I'm talking about. They don't have it. All they have is hand-me-down information that you can buy at Barnes and Nobles, or that you can order, and they're just recycling the same information and rewording it into translations and transliteration. That's why we don't proclaim to have the information when it comes to translations of our language, because we know that there's yet to be discovered information. But for what we do have, we can easily tell you that the translations that these esoteric commissions always come up with never equal out to the translation that these so-called Khazarians or rabbis or whatnot are putting out there as far as the Hebrew texts. And that should prove to you, because if the world is run by these bankers who are Khazars and who only use Egyptian systems to hold captivity, because they don't use Hebrew systems to hold captivity. Usury is illegal in the Hebrew system, or interest, right? So we know that they're not using our culture to be righteous, or else things would be different. So it's obvious whose culture that they're using, because we see it everywhere, right? You don't look up and you don't see Hebrew or Paleo-Hebrew written anywhere, but you can look up and see Greek or English, right? And there's things that y'all aren't noticing, just simple things that y'all aren't noticing, like the Commission or so-called Pan-African will use so-called Egyptian language, but you notice how the Egyptian language, it's formulated even differently from the Hebrew translation, even in English. There's P's being used, right? They're using letters as vowels. It's pretty interesting, man. And it doesn't even have the same ring. It doesn't even reverberate the same as the Hebrew language, right? So there's a lot that you're not going to get from these so-called scholars, because once they get past a certain level, if you will, because they're all Freemasons, if they subscribe to the Commission culture as it stands today, then they are all Freemasons, no matter what. because they work on the left-hand side. They're not telling you the allegories. They're not telling you what the scriptures say as regards to your mind so that you can serve the king. They're not telling you that, right? So I'm just going to close that out. I guess by the time you hear this, I would have attempted to splice my voice recording or whatnot with the video that I recorded earlier on it. So hopefully that was edifying to you. To those who are in the Ruach, in the spirit, I know that you can garner something of substance from it. So I'm not worried about that. And I give thanks and praises to Yahweh that even the little things that we do here can be used as a sword to divide us from these heathens who want to latch on to us to sustain their livelihood. Because we know that's coming to an end. The world knows it's coming to an end. And these are just the birth pains of that. So, in that, this JAHsh or JAHsh signing out. My report from Babylon.